The McClendon Report. Ask or Ask, Donda's Rules, Suit Shoes. All available at McClendonReport.com.
Uh-oh, Governor Quinn has shed his lieutenant governor skin as he brandishes the fangs of a vampire, vetoing the budget given to him by lawmakers. But will this veto suck the life out of state employees' checks, social service agencies, and overdue bills? 177 state reps and senators will have to appease the governor some, Will it take furloughs, a better glass of Merlot, or a major tax increase? I don't care what it takes. As the cable guy would say, just get her done. State budget in limbo tonight on Garrard McClendon Live. It's clear there is sheer incompetence, greed, or an unwillingness to get a budget passed. Where are the money-saving furloughs when you need them? Why is Illinois $9 billion in the red? And who would have thought that Governor Quinn would stand up to Republicans and Democrats vetoing the proposed budget? Lawmakers and the governor just can't get it together, and this veto is a sign of incompetence and terrible communication. Joining us now by telephone is 4th District State Senator Kimberly Lightford. State Senator, thanks for being on Garrard McClendon Live tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm so glad that you're on the show because Governor Quinn, he vetoed the bill. Senator, what does he want senators to do? I mean, what's he refusing to budge on here? Does this have anything to do with the $2.2 billion proposed loan?
Well, let me say this in first in defense of Governor Quinn. He inherited a huge problem, as you already indicated, a $9 billion budget hole. So as the governor coming in, being there a couple months, he's got to figure out how to bring everyone together and come up with $9 billion. That's a lot of money that we have to generate in revenue so that state government doesn't shut down. Yeah. Now, what the governor vetoed was a 50% budget. I agree with the fact that there is no reason why we should be voting on and approving and acknowledging a 50% budget. How are the social services going to perform at a level of 50% of last year's budget? Now, that 2.2 pension obligation note that went down yesterday, that note would have been just a supplemental to get the budget to 70%. So now you told me, why should the state and state agencies and not-for-profit groups who take care of all of our critical needs people and substance abuse and persons with disabilities, early childhood ed, I mean, why should they be functioning on a 70% budget? Yeah. So I believe that the governor, at the end of the day, is really trying to protect the people who need it most with these social service needs, but it's not coming across like that. And so I think it's important that we begin to tell people what's really happening. That pension obligation note would have been just another way of us to refinance our own debt. We've done that. That's why we're in a $9 billion debt hole. We did it with Bogovich. We did it 2-3 years ago. We refinanced our pension obligations. We have a structural deficit problem. We need to address it. We need to fix the pension structural deficit problem instead of continuing to borrow money from it on bonds for future payment. So, that's why we're here now. We borrowed money years ago based on a future projection that didn't happen because we're in this mini recession.
So Senator Lightford, do you think that the governor is being realistic here or idealistic?
I believe he's being realistic. I think that I'd like for him to speed up his process a little quicker, for him to put his foot down in terms of what he really wants, what he needs. He got to have and begin to lobby legislators to see his vision. Now, I and a bunch of other legislators are meeting with the governor tomorrow at noon at the Thompson Center so that we can come up with how do you get the votes. Now, the Senate voted for an income tax increase that would have generated $5 billion. Reverend Senator James Meeks had a bill. It was Senate Bill 750 years ago. The number changed so many times, it's ridiculous. And we ended up passing that out. Why didn't Speaker Madigan call that bill in the House? So instead, he calls a different bill.
So, Senator, it looks like this is politically motivated. And, I really try to stay far away from making political accusations that may be detrimental for the entire state. But is this a Madigan versus Governor Quinn deal here?
I would think that, Speaker Madigan, he's a genius as it relates to government and politics and what he does. He's done it for a long time. He's mastered it, and he's calculated. Everything is based on timing and some political moves. And he has a desire to get to a level in his chamber where he has a supermajority, and he wants to hold on to members. He wants Republicans to vote on his tax increase. Yeah. He doesn't want this to be a Democrat-driven tax increase where the Republicans can run out and say the Democrats raise your taxes, but yet all of their people across the state of Illinois enjoy the benefits.
Yeah.
So it's calculated in terms of politics where he feels that the Republicans needs to put some votes on it, and I agree with Speaker Madigan in that regard. But what I don't like is that we blamed it on Blagojevich, we blamed it on former President Jones. They're not there anymore. We blamed it on Leader Watson. He's gone. We have new leadership. And Speaker Madigan and Leader Cross are the only two left, and we're still in the same rut.
Senator, how quickly are we going to get this budget passed? It's July 1st. What's going on?
Well, we're due to the governor in his veto call for a special session. We'll be back in Springfield on July 14th, and it's my heart's desire that we have something resolved by that time so that our social service agencies don't hurt. The governor has the ability to pay providers at this point at last year's rates where he can do that. I don't know if he has that desire. I'm going to learn from him on tomorrow and be able to continue to urge him to make sure we get something done as soon as possible. But I refuse to vote on legislation that's the same as it has been over the past years. They're just Band-Aid approaches. They're just filling the gaps. Let's be real. Let's take a realistic look at our conditions in the state of Illinois as it relates to funding education, as it relates to our pension obligations, as it relates to Medicaid and all of our other restraints that we have, and let's address them. We have $9 billion that we have to come up with. Wow. That's not an easy sell, but we've got to get there.
Wow. I really appreciate you being on Garrard McClendon Live. I hope we get this resolved quickly. Do you believe in a tax increase?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that it's the fairest approach.
Yes.
I believe, that I carried the minimum wage bill. I felt like $5.15 wasn't enough for people to live and prosper in, and then it raised up to $7.50. Then the Blagojevich came and used it as his whole campaign thing and made this big stink about it, and nobody knows. But I'm the original minimum wage carrier of the legislation.
Yes.
But in that, it's just to say that people who aren't making enough shouldn't carry the burden alone, and wealthy folks shouldn't have to be blamed because they're wealthy.
Absolutely.
I think it's fair when we all pay into the system.
State Senator Kimberly Lightford, thanks for being on Garrard McClendon Live.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you take care now.
Your
calls are welcome at 630-575-TALK. Is the state legislature incompetent, or is the governor just stubborn? I'm still trying to figure out why 177 adults can't reach a compromise with the governor. What are your thoughts? Garrard McClendon Live.
Men and women who are the heart and soul of Illinois, who pay the taxes and pay our salaries, are entitled to an honest budget that's a full budget, that's a balanced budget, and is also a decent budget. We have to fulfill the needs of Illinois, the people's needs. We have to have human services. We cannot have a halfway measure that doesn't properly fund the human services of Illinois and make sure that the people of our state have an honest and decent and fair budget. So that's why I vetoed it.
Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. No compromise, but the spirit of unwillingness is strong in Springfield. Governor Quinn growls at lawmakers by getting the veto stamp out, saying, no, no, no. Now, everyone suffers because greed, taxation, and stubbornness rules. Politicians are full of nonsense, and taxpayers need to speak up and demand resolution. 630-575-TALK is the number. What is your comment on the veto? Joining us in CLTV Studio C is 5th District State Representative Ken Dunkin. Representative Dunkin, what is going on, my friend? You know, veto today. What's Quinn's biggest beef, and do you agree or disagree with his rubber stamp?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Gerard. I really appreciate the candor that this show provides all of the audiences here throughout the city of Chicagoland.
Appreciate it.
What's going on is, members of the General Assembly and the House in particular did not come through with a bill to help close this economic gap. We simply could have passed a bill that only 42 members were feeling good about and confident about within themselves, or held their nose for a tax increase, and we simply failed it. We did not take the tough vote in these difficult times, and now we are paying the cost. It's real sad that it's deja vu all over again, and we simply are missing opportunities in abundance here, and it's very disheartening.
I'm trying to figure out the bones of contention. Help me with some numbers. There's someone right now watching this show. They're sitting at home and they're saying, Representative Dunkin and Garrard, they're talking about billions of dollars. Let's break this thing down first of all. Let's talk about the $2.2 billion proposed loan, evidently to keep things going. And then let's talk about this $9 billion state deficit. What is it that Governor Quinn vetoed, and let's try to explain the $2.2 billion and then the $9 billion deficit.
Well, the $2.2 billion simply would have been one of the funding mechanisms that we would have held to help pay for at least 75% of human services. Last year, our budget was roughly about $55.6 billion. A good portion of those dollars come from the federal match or federal funds and Medicaid, school formula funding, et cetera, or direct formula funding coming from in different departments, from Department of Corrections, Community Development Block Grant, just a whole myriad of special funding. A big portion of our budget which is half of that, which is about $26 billion or $28 billion in this number during this session, runs the state government, or it's operating. It pays for salaries. It pays for a lot of those direct social service programs that the state simply pays human service organizations to do, because we don't provide as much mental health or disabled services or case management or foster care as do most of these human services organizations. And so what we do simply is we farm that money out, or we contract with various social service agencies to be our feet on the ground, to provide that basic service, home health care, keeping people out of nursing homes, helping individuals who are impacted with full-blown AIDS, prevention programs, all around.
And granted, that money shouldn't be compromised, but do you think that government, specifically Illinois government, is a little bit too fat, Representative? Come on now. Come on. I had Todd Strozier on my show talking about Cook County government. I asked him, was there any fat in the budget? He couldn't name anything. Is there any fat in the Illinois budget? Come on, Representative.
Our budget is too large for me to sit here with a straight face and tell you that we don't have fat or bloat in our budget. Absolutely, we have fat. We have some programs that simply are not working today. We have useful or meaningless positions in state government that simply are just that. They're defunct, they're passé, and it's the executive branch and the legislative branch, in part as well, to help comb through the budget and to find out what those programs are, what those jobs are, and eliminate them. Yes, we do have fat. I don't know every particular nuance, but we have it. And so this governor is telling us he's going to lay off make about $1 billion in cuts.
Wow. You know what? This is deep. Hold tight, Representative Dunkin. And when it comes to fat, right now we're pretty much operating without a lieutenant governor. So the question becomes, why do we even need a lieutenant governor? There's probably a whole lot of other positions that we don't need in state government. People taking too many coffee breaks. Hey, email me at cltvtalk@tribune.com. Hit my blog at cltv.com/GML, or give me a call right now, 630-575-TALK. Political incompetence in the wake of a veto. Garrard McClendon live, back in 2.
There's no option. We must take care of our citizens of Illinois who need a helping hand in a lot of different ways. And this particular piece of legislation, as I said, not only because it fails to fulfill the basic budget needs of our state, but because it also has these other provisions that are very, very bad for Illinois today and tomorrow. That's why veto.
We give you the chance to sound off on Garrard McClendon Live. Are politicians in Illinois worth the money we pay them? Is Governor Quinn vetoing for the right reason, or is it his way of earning respect and bully points? Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. Call me, 630-575-TALK. I've got Representative Ken Dunkin with us tonight. Representative, getting back to the $2.2 billion quickly, because I want to go to phone calls. Is the $2.2 billion basically just some sort of a safety net or a bridge to get us to the next year or the next month or until we get a budget passed?
Exactly. Yeah, well, it's not to the next year. It's really to help close the $9.2 billion gap. We had an opportunity to reduce payment to the pension obligation bond until next year or the year after that. And what this 2.2 simply would have helped us with our community service or human services. So it was only a portion of money compared to what we're really trying to get to, which is about $28 billion overall for the operation of state government.
Yeah.
You know, community service is one aspect. Then you have a whole myriad of agencies from the prisons, from the universities, from a number of human service programs that, again, we contract out. This was a small piece in a large multi-billion-dollar operation.
Yeah, and there's some things that we just can't compromise on. Let me go to the phones. I'm going to Craig. Craig, thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment, Craig?
You know, what's going on down there right now is a joke. We are way overtaxed here in the state of Illinois as is. I cannot get from one side of the town to the other without having to pay a toll on the road. I have to pay the highest gas prices in the country.
Wow.
You know, it's a joke. These guys down there, they need to get their heads out of their rears and come up with a plan that's not raising my taxes.
Yeah.
Stop using scare tactics on people.
Hey.
It's a joke, especially from a governor who is never elected and will not get reelected.
Oh.
It's a joke. I'm sick of paying taxes
Hey,
like this.
Craig, thanks for the call. Oh, see, look, Representative, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about passion with the average taxpayer, man. Talk to me. This guy's upset. I mean, if you live in Cook County, you're in the highest taxes in the state, 10.25%. You can't even buy a dinner, man, or an iPod because you're going to get taxed to death. And now we're talking about more taxes, 3 to 4.5% increase? Come on, Representative. I mean, he's calling the governor as well as representatives incompetent.
You know, I am 100% in agreement in terms of us being taxed. I am not a proponent of taxes. However, we're in a very unique circumstance. We have not, this state budget, this state government has not been in this level of financial calamity since the early Depression here in this century. And so, when you have callers who just make blanket statements and they don't know the facts of operating and running government, you know, it's a, you know, they have to look at it and take a different approach. I mean, how do you compromise with an elderly lady who can't take care of herself? Do we keep her at home or do we institutionalize her where it costs $150,000 a year?
Okay, you know what? I got another point I got to make, but I got to wait until the commercial. Representative Ken Dunkin. It's time to get a job, ladies and gentlemen.
And I just want to say that it is so time for people to get their lives decent and in order.
Michael Jackson was one artist that just watching him perform would uplift you, excite you, and drain you all in one.
Michael Jackson, I'm glad I had my chance to see him at the Chicago Stadium back in 1981. What he means to me is like, hey, I never can say goodbye.
That's the Garrard McClendon Live V-line. Give me a call after the show, 630-574-3232. Representative Ken Dunkin, talk to me, man. You got a three-point platform here. Make it quick.
Well, here's where we are right now. We're a $9.2 billion deficit right as we speak. We have $2.2 billion of the pension obligation monies that we're going to suspend payment to. We have a $4.2 billion tax proposal. We have a $1.8 federal matching fund, and the governor has also proposed $1 billion in selected spending cut or reduction in state government. Wow. You know, that's a real number, and these are, again, very difficult times, and we have to make tough choices. There's no easy answer for this right here, but I am not going to sit in the General Assembly and allow for our most vulnerable citizens here in this state to fall off.
Yeah.
Because we are obligated to take care of our own as we do other foreign countries.
That's for real. Let me get one more phone call. Donna, you're on Garrard McClendon Live. Donna, what's your point? Make it quick. She's gone. Donna's gone. Hey, Representative, what's interesting too is, and I'm glad you're explaining these numbers with some clarity, because so often we see the news and it's like, what are they doing? We're panicking. Can't they get a budget passed by July 1st? But it's a lot more complicated than people think, isn't it? Final word, sir.
It absolutely is very complicated. You have a state government that is a major corporation. Our funding mechanisms or revenue streams come from income, sales tax, special licenses and fees. And we simply, in this economic time, do not have the needed revenue for just flat funding, or the same funding as we needed from last year. So that's where we are. That's our reality. No politician ever wants to raise anyone's taxes.
There we go. You heard it from Representative Ken Dunkin. Thanks for being on Garrard McClendon Live, my friend.
Thank you, Garrard.
All right, take care. Thanks for being on, for watching Garrard McClendon Live tonight. Like I always say, hey, stay positive. I need you to keep your head up and always be encouraged.
The McClendon Report. Ask or Ask, Donda's Rules, Suit Shoes. All available at McClendonReport.com.